Live from KLKN TV in Lincoln, this is Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Vanessa Brown.
And I'm Rod Fowler. Flooding continues to be a big concern in many communities tonight. The Loop, Elkhorn, and Platte Rivers are all causing some problems after some very heavy rains during the past few days.
We've had crews scoping out the damage all day. We have reports tonight from Schuyler, Waterloo, Neely, Fremont, and North Loop. Channel 8 Eyewitness News reporter Ashley Larson kicks off our team coverage.
People in Waterloo and surrounding areas say it just took a few hours for it to go from no water to complete flooding. This house in Waterloo basically sits on an island. The Platte River is the main culprit. You can see how much it's risen when you compare it to the bridge. On Sunday, it started overflowing its banks, forcing many who lived on King Lake, which is just outside of town, to be evacuated by boat.
It's up to probably here. My whole house is underwater. I just saw all my stuff floating down the stream.
Lee Zimmerman, who also lives on King Lake, was able to get out on his own with just a few things in his hands.
This morning there's a 55-gallon drum with a stop sign stuck in it, and there's only about 2 inches of that drum sticking out of the water.
He can't go back to his home, so he's helping out his friend Paul Gurnett, who woke up to find his yard flooded.
Stayed in the house last night, and when I woke up this morning, this is what I found. It was pretty incredible because I really thought that this would never happen.
Even though the Platte River is basically his backyard, so far so good. No water in his basement or shop, and he's moving everything up to higher ground just in case.
As long as it doesn't rise anymore, I can't stand, I probably couldn't take another foot.
As for Zimmerman, he says the next couple of days will be a waiting game. He's not sure when he'll get back into his home, but he's expecting a couple feet of water on his main floor and preparing for the worst.
Anything that was on the floor up to 3 feet high is going to be trashed.
Earlier this evening, residents in the King Lake area were still waiting to get to their houses. The State Patrol and Sheriff's deputies just had it blocked off. It was too dangerous for people to go in, and also roads around there as well had water on them.
All right, thank you, Ashley. We move on now to the Neely area. It's the worst natural disaster that community has ever seen. Yesterday, the Elkhorn River crested, and the nearby town of Clearwater was completely flooded. Well, that raging river made its way 9 miles downstream to Neely, where damage is very clear. 5 families were evacuated from their homes, 1 even rescued by boat. Emergency crews and volunteers have been very busy, hard at work.
We have some O'Neill National Guard members stopped in to see if they needed any help. And basically right now is we're taking names and numbers, and if somebody needs some help, we'll divert the workforce.
An entire park, homes, trucks, and even roads are all underwater.
Well, there is some good news tonight. Officials report that water is receding in hard-hit areas around Fremont and Schuyler, but they still have a lot of cleanup to do. Channel 8 Eyewitness News reporter Dan Perlman was in Schuyler.
This gushing water shows where it came from. This field proves it's not gone yet. This black line shows how high it was.
When you live in the floodplain, that's what you get.
Jerry Cratchell owns the funeral home here in Schuyler, where all day teams of people have been ripping out carpet and saving what they can. Across the street, Robert Dunker's home was also underwater for the 3rd time in the 20 years he's lived here.
You know, it was just too much, too often, and, you know, we tried to prepare the best we could and get things lined up and ready and, you know, put up and whatnot. And then what happens, happens.
Bo Botello is the Colfax County attorney. He told me the water began rising in Shell Creek and Neiman Ditch Friday night. Since then, crews have been at it around the clock, setting up sandbags. They've also been working to keep sewage from mixing with the mess already here, the result of a lift station that was damaged Friday night.
Since then, the city Department of Utilities has and Public Works has pumps stationed, portable pumps, diesel pumps to pump water to compensate for that lift station. We're still asking people to minimize water use and minimize the sewage system until we can get that lift station fully operational.
And just outside of town, Randy Kassmeyer tells me when it comes to his crops,
time will tell. It'll depend on what happens later, if the weather's favorable afterwards, see what survives or how fast the water goes down, or if it gets real hot fast, it'll burn it. So just time will tell, but a lot of it's damaged.
As you can see over here, there is still some standing water in and around Schuyler. I'm told there are about 200 volunteers who have helped sandbag and work with the sewage. The people here in Schuyler are very thankful for all of that. They just hope this never happens again. In Schuyler, Dan Perlman, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
And straight east of Schuyler is Nickerson. The water was so high there, many couldn't leave their homes. Channel 8 Eyewitness News reporter Kaylee Nicole was there today. She joins us with the latest. Kaylee?
Well, in Nickerson, not far from the Fremont area, it's more than just fields that are flooded over. It's roads, too, making the last few days especially inconvenient for residents. While waterfront property may be the dream of many, here in Nickerson, Nebraska, the news of water on their property is far from a fantasy.
I never expected it to be like in the basement and just everywhere.
The overflowing Elkhorn River sent waves of inconvenience through the area. In Nickerson alone, highways 91 and 77 were closed due to water over the roadways.
It's a hassle just to get even to, her grandparents' house and just to get to normal places where you wouldn't think was, it's just like 10 minutes down the road, but you have to go so far around just because of all the roads that are closed now.
But not even high waters and road closures can stop some Nebraskans from trying to make a living. So they're coming up with some creative ways to get from town to town.
I'm driving the four-wheeler around to go fish for carp and anything else that's swimming through the floods.
Proving the 2010 floods drown out past flooding disasters.
This is the worst it's been for a long time. In 2008 it was running across the highway and all the way down through town, but this tops it.
If you would like to see what other roads and interstates have been closed due to flooding, the Nebraska Department of Roads website has all of those listed on a map.
And thank you, Kaylee. By the way, you can check out that website by going to ours at klkntv.com.
There's also extensive damage in north central Nebraska after the Brett Howard Dam failed. Red Cross officials say more than 65 homes and 7 businesses were damaged from flooding in North Loop. Several basements and homes across town filled with water. The flooding forced everyone to evacuate on Saturday. Residents like Sherry and Kraft have been let back in to clean up.
Coming from underneath the house.
They're pumping out lagoons and pumping out this sewer system so that there's room for water to go. The hard thing right now is that we can't use any of our drains, so we can't use water, toilets, showers. We can't use any of that. Those are all.
Kraft lives right on the bank of the flooded creek. She says the water rushed to 3 feet high in just a matter of minutes.
State emergency leaders are calling the Elkhorn River swelling, quote, some of the worst flooding they've ever seen in that area. Officials from Nebraska Emergency Management compare it to the devastating floods of 1993. They say it's difficult right now to predict just how much damage there's going to be. In the meantime, state agencies are banding together to help the storm-affected areas get their head above water.
Today, 6 initial assessment teams of Guard personnel teamed with NEMA and Department of Health and Human Services are being deployed to areas across the state to conduct needs assessments related to the health and life and safety concerns of the citizens of Nebraska.
And National Guard units are being deployed to counties surrounding the Omaha, Columbus, and Norfolk areas. So far, no flooding deaths have been reported.
We've had lots of heavy rain and news about flooding, obviously. So is there any relief in sight? For that, let's head straight to Chief Meteorologist Kevin Costrin with more.
Vanessa, the good news is, as far as any more rain, there is some relief. Tonight, tomorrow should be dry across the flood-ravaged areas of eastern and central Nebraska. But by the time we get to Wednesday, more chances for storms. So a small drying out period for us. Across the area tonight, there are numerous flood warnings and advisories, many of them in the Channel 8 viewing area, some of them just east of Lincoln, down into Odo County and down along the Missouri River especially. The Big Blue being minor flooding going on down there in Saline County, and also way up in northeast Nebraska. We have the Elkhorn River, some of its worst flooding in years there. The Platte River, of course, and the Cedar River still causing some problems as well in Boone and Greeley counties. Now, a current look at radar fortunately shows that and really no rain going on in any of the flooded areas, except maybe for far southeast Nebraska in Richardson County. But I believe the flooding there is going on along the Missouri River. And those storms should stay to the east of the Channel 8 viewing area for the rest of the night. So overnight, just some passing clouds, 60 degrees for the overnight low, and we should have a dry day tomorrow, although a bit humid with the wet ground. Details for the next chance of storms coming up.
Thanks, Kevin. We always appreciate the pictures you've sent to us when it comes to the flooding. This one is courtesy of Therese. It's from the Spalding Dam and Cedar River early this morning. We also have several photos here of the Loop River rising near Columbus. Thanks to Becca for those. If you have pictures of flooding in your area, we'd love to see them. Send them to the number 8 at KOKNTV.com.
A warning for people living in the village of Kennesaw: boil your water before you drink it. Adams County officials say the health warning was issued after a lightning strike damaged a pump panel and the water system lost pressure. For now, residents are urged to boil water for 5 minutes before drinking or cooking. However, it is safe for bathing.
Up on Channel 8 Eyewitness News tonight, an uninsured woman goes to a violent extreme to try and get treated. Did her gamble pay off? We'll have more on that later in our health report.
Well, after all that rain, we had flood warnings across many counties in eastern Nebraska. We never got one officially for the capital city, but there are some flooded basements in and around Lincoln, so could get more of it.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Well, coming up on Channel 8 Eyewitness News, lots of stars and stripes flying around town today.
We're going to give you a little history behind Flag Day. You're watching Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 10. Today is Flag Day. Here are some shots of Old Glory flying around Lincoln today.
On this day, back in 1777, the Continental Congress adopted the Stars and Stripes as our national flag. And in 1916, President Woodrow Wilson issued a proclamation officially declaring June 14th Flag Day. Did you know that, Rod?
I did not. Learn something new every day. In other news now, Lincoln police arrested a man for burglarizing a BP gas station earlier this month. Officer Katie Flood says after police released photos of the suspect through the media, they received several tips identifying him as Benjamin Huber. Flood says they found Huber at a friend's apartment Friday night. Apparently, that friend confirmed to police that Huber broke into the store only to come back with some cigarettes.
Lincoln police are looking for a burglary suspect. Around 2 o'clock this morning, police say a man used a brick to shatter the glass at the Gittin Split at 28th and O. Police say he took six cartons of cigarettes worth nearly $300. They say he's a white male in his 30s with brown hair and a widow's peak. If you have any information, please call Crime Stoppers at 475-3600. And still to come on Channel 8 Eyewitness News Sports, a Shrine Bowl preview of the North team.
Plus, Doc Sadler and John Cook weigh in on the Huskers moving to the Big Ten. We're going to hear from the coaches next. You're watching Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 10.
Before we get rolling tonight, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Okie State have all decided to stay in the Big 12, keeping the league intact, hopefully. Interesting stuff.
All right, thanks, Brett. Coming up in your health report, what one woman did to get medical attention.
You're watching Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 10. And in health news, a Michigan woman who's unemployed and doesn't have health insurance went to the extreme to get treatment for a painful shoulder injury.
Do not try that at home.
Yikes. Well, stick around. We'll be right back with a final check of the weather.
Should be dry tomorrow. Next chance for storms in Lincoln Wednesday.
All right. Thanks so much for watching tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow.